about this God, we mentioned grand peace and salutations and blessings upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Anytime we hear the name of the Messenger of Allah alayhi wasallam, it's an opportunity for you to get abundance of good deeds, have your sins forgiven, get closer to Allah, have Allah mention you among the angels that are closest to Him by merely repeating as-salatu was-salam upon the Prophet alayhi salatu was-salam. And since we are human beings that are interested in business and investment and return on investment, then it is amazing that we try to, milk the ant, as they say in the Arab world, even though there's nothing to get out of an ant. But you try to get so many freebies in this world, but when it comes to the matter of the religion and good deeds, somehow the shaitan fools us into thinking that it's not a big deal, or you have plenty of other good deeds that will make up for you, knowing very well that none of us ever received the receipt that says, congratulations, your deeds have been accepted. Neither your obligatory prayer, nor your voluntary prayer, nor your fasting of Ramadan, or the voluntary fast, or anything. Nobody knows for sure that Allah Azza wa Jalla has accepted. Does that mean that we have bad assumption about Allah? No. We assume good about Allah Azza wa Jalla. But we always have the two wings, the wing of fear and the wing of hope. We fear that our deeds are not good enough. We fear hypocrisy, because a true believer fears for himself to be among the hypocrites, and the true hypocrite feels that he is safe. If someone feels that they are safe, it's a sign of hypocrisy. If someone is concerned about their iman, it's a sign of iman. If they're concerned about that, about them being hypocrites. The discussion I want to have with you is one which I always remind myself of, because every time a person reminds you of the deen of Allah, they're actually reminding themselves. You just happen to be there. There's no such thing as a person looking down upon others and telling them, you guys need to do this because I've figured it out. That I don't think any speaker who understands the basics of Islam will speak to the people as though he's figured it out and everybody else is still trying to find out what's going on. So always and forever, it's a reminder for everybody, and the reminder benefits the believers. Excuse me. Oh, coughing on this mic is not going to be a good idea. Allah's Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam, one of his characteristics is that Allah told him some matters of the future and the unseen. Usually the coined term for this is prophecies. The Prophet ﷺ had many prophecies, some of which have already materialized, and some of which are yet to be experienced and observed and seen. And some of the statements of the Prophet ﷺ are such that they actually apply from the time he said them until Yawm al-Qiyamah, but at various levels. Meaning it's not like an event, for example, when he says about the Dajjal, or about the return of Isa ibn Maryam, or the coming of Al-Mahdi, or any sign of the signs of the Day of Judgment, whether minor or major. This will be a particular event that will lead to other events, and there's no signs of it yet. It's yet to come. And there are things that he said that will happen, where even during his time, or shortly after his time, they started to experience them. And as time progresses, they worsen and worsen and worsen. One of them is the famous hadith of Al-Irbad ibn Sariya radiallahu anhu, where the Prophet ﷺ said, فَإِنَّهُ مَنْ يَعِشْ مِنْكُمْ فَسَيَرَ اخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا. Whoever will live amongst you after me, understood by context, shall see a lot of differing. And sure enough, from the time of the Khulafa and the emergence of the Khawarij, who did not see the Sahaba to be befitting for leadership, the Khawarij did not think the Sahaba befit the status of leadership. Uthman was not a good enough Khalifa. Uthman, radiallahu anhu, the one who had all these virtues that all of you know. We can turn this talk easily to the virtues of Uthman ibn Affan, and I would just be listening to you. I won't have to say a word. I'll just ask each brother and somebody will mention something. He was not fit for the job. So don't be surprised if you hear today that nobody's fit for the job. From that time, there was the differing already taking place and the infighting. And today, surely this hadith continues to materialize, and it will continue to materialize until Yawm al-Qiyamah, because no time shall come upon the people except that it will be worse than the time that preceded it. One of those narrations that continue to manifest as time goes by is the famous hadith of Anas radiallahu anhu. There are different wordings of this hadith, some of which are authentic, some of which the scholars have some comments on them, but the hadith in general is sahih. That the Prophet ﷺ said, يأتي على الناس زمان القابض, in one riwayah, الصابر على دينه كالقابض على الجمر. A time shall come upon the people where the one who is patient, this is one wording of the hadith, sabir from sabr, the one who is patient upon his religion, and the other wording is qabid. Qabd is to grab something with your hand so that it's inside. The one who grabs to his religion, grabs on his religion, maintains his religion, upholds his religion, is patient with his religion, is equal to a person who's grabbing a burning coal. I know you're not cold now, but if you go outside this masjid, you will be cold. And no matter how cold you are, I'm assuming if I gave you a burning coal to warm you up, you will not take it from me. You're cold, صح? تفضل. It's just a burning coal. What's the big deal? Thank you very much. I'd rather be cold. Because the idea of burning ourselves is one of the scariest things for humans. That's why we don't dare put our hands in a toaster. And we generally are afraid of heat, even hot water. Sometimes you're cold, you want hot water to make wudu, but sometimes it's so hot, it strikes you. And then you have to think at that point about Jahannam. Anytime we come across something that is so hot that we cannot bear, it's not even a flame, it's not even actual fire, something just merely hot. And we are taken aback by the strength and by the heat, then we have to think about the hellfire. And then we have to think even further, that the hellfire is 69 times more severe than the fire of the dunya. So the fire of the dunya, which we don't even want to imagine to, turn on or put on some fire and then a camp of some sort, and people just like, astaghfirullah, burning in it, as some of the religions do when they want to, when someone dies. Then we have to think about the severity of the fire of hell. This hadith is a reflection of what a lot of us go through on a daily basis. Some more than others. Some have it easier than others. But surely all of us as Muslims, it seems as though in this world, it seems as the whole world has conspired against us. You feel sometimes that it's the Muslims against the world. And the world never unites upon anything except against Muslims. We're always the troublemakers or the trouble or the guilty ones. And it always seems that they're trying to get rid of us either in this country or that country, or they're banning hijab, or banning this, or banning adhan. There's always something going on, as though they cannot cope with Islam spreading. And the miracle of Allah Azza wa Jal is that the more they try to eradicate Islam, the more Islam spreads. يريدون ليطفئوا نور الله بأفواههم. They want to put out the light of Allah. ويأبى الله. Allah refuses except that His light will illuminate. So they could try and keep trying. And we could watch, give them thumbs up. All right, enjoy. You will not be able to get rid of us. There are signs of Yawm al-Qiyamah that we will be around. The last people who will be with Isa will be Muslims. So we're here to stick around, inshallah. But while we're here, each one of us is going to have a lifespan of Allah knows what, 60, 70, 80. Few reach the 80, 90. Average, as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, 60 to 70 years. Sometimes much younger than that. During this time that you will be here on this earth, you are going to be tested in your deen. And every time you're tested in your deen, you have two choices. Either you're going to be weak, put up the white flag, surrender. Nah, too much. Too much. Why do I have to worry? Why? Oh, this is haram. With this haram, I can't listen to music. I can't have a girlfriend. Well, I can't watch this and I can't do that. Ishhad. Captain, I want to enjoy life. Will you make it difficult? I'll do Hajj when I'm 40, 50. Proper Hajj. Come back a proper Muslim. And Bismillah. This is called a fantasy. This is just someone's wild imagination. That's the first choice. Inshallah, none of you will make that choice. The second choice is that you will have to hold on to your religion, but bear in mind that it comes with consequences. It will be like a burning coal. You will become an outcast, sometimes within your own family. Actually, more often within your own family, let alone people at work, in your work environment. As a Muslim, you have certain protocols of do's and don'ts that are not understandable. The non-Muslims cannot grasp, understand, decipher. Why are you so difficult to deal with? And what's the big deal if you shook hands with your female colleague? Is it the end of the world? Is this like a big deal? That's the perception that they have. Why can't you get involved in this transaction or that transaction? Things that have to do with riba and usury and interest. They call it interest, and it's interesting that they call it interest, because it's in their interest to keep you in the hole. That's what interest is. That's what usury is. It's actually using someone who needs money to make them need more money, more frequently, for a longer time, while they make money from things that they didn't do. They didn't do anything to make more money. You need a loan? I'll give you a loan, but you have to give me back with extra, and you have to pay me on a monthly basis, and if you don't, I'm going to charge you a fee. The next thing you know, you were struggling. Now you're really struggling, especially if you have multiple loans and payments and installments for the car and for the house and for I don't know what. And so they put you in a cycle where you can almost never get out. إلا من رحم الله. So they call it interest. These are things that you as a Muslim, mortgages and whatever, these are things that you have to know where to draw the line. These are decisions that you have to make. And while a person can make the easy decision every single time, the more we choose the concessions that are often not concessions, it's more of a fatwa shopping. And the scholars used to say, whoever searches for fatawa to justify the positions he already has, فَقَدْ تَزَنْدَقْ. Yani you're going towards being a zindiq. Zindiq is borderline disbelief. It's like you've taken the deen of Allah as a joke or as a source of entertainment. You already have a position that is practical for you, and now you find a fatwa. And believe me, thanks to Sheikh Google, you will find that fatwa. Somehow, some way. Some sheikh, somewhere would have said something that is exactly what you needed to hear. And, one of us will deceive himself into thinking, this is okay. Even though we know from the Prophet ﷺ, that deep down we also know that it's not okay. Because even if the people aftawk and they give you the fatwa, in the heart you know that something is not clicking, something is not right. So we should speak to our dhamir. And an-nafs al-lawwama kicks in. When an-nafs al-lawwama kicks in, the part of you that's constantly blaming you for not doing what is right, you need to give it an ear. Hear it out. Because the nafs al-lawwama will continue to speak. You put it on silent mode, and nafs al-ammara bis-su will come and take over. There's no more nafs mutma'inna, there's no more nafs lawwama, now your nafs ammara bis-su. Your soul is constantly trying to tell you, take you all over the place. And a person will fall into sin and continue to fall into sin, and one sin will lead to another. Then the shaitan will come and tell you, you're a sinful, worthless human being. Why do you even come to the masjid? You're a munafiq, you're a hypocrite. You pretend in front of everybody to be a righteous Muslim, and you're praying, but in reality you're nothing. So stop this hypocrisy, and when you fix yourself, come pray in the masjid. First mistake. And you're like, oh yeah, thank you shaitan, what a great advice. And you stop coming to the masjid, or you stop praying, even if you're not praying in the masjid at home. You stop praying until you fix yourself. And once you do that, you can basically consider the rest to be history. Once you stop the salah from sila, excuse me, the connection between you and Allah is now disconnected. It's like you have a phone without a SIM card, or eSIM for this matter. No connection. You can press buttons and make call all day. Hello? There's no SIM card. There's no network. You're off. People don't pray to Allah Azza wa Jal, and they want everything from Allah. The bare minimum is that you pray. Then the shaitan will tell you, all right, now that things are not working out for you, you still feel bad that you're sinning. So what's next? Excuse me. You know what's next? What would be the next bright suggestion from the shaitan? Bismillah. You guys can answer, by the way. It's not just a one-way lecture. It's one way to the UK, but it's also a two-way street. Aywa. When you're sinning all the time and you feel guilty, but you're not going to change. You're not willing to abandon the lifestyle for the sake of Allah. What would be the next suggestion from the shaitan? What should you do? Shirk. Shirk? You're already drowning in shirk. العهد الذي بيننا وبينهم صلاة فمن تركها فقد كفر. And the other ahadith. Ahsant, good answer. But what's the greatest form of shirk?
Riya.
Yeah, Captain. Riya is minor shirk. Yani you miss out on the good deeds, but you're still within the folds of Islam. The greatest type of shirk is what?
Kufr.
Kufr of what? Aywa. Yani you worship Allah and someone else. Is there something worse than that? Have you heard of the word ilhad?
Yeah.
And what's ilhad? Atheism. You guys haven't? There are no atheists in the UK? MashaAllah, tabarakallah. I'm living in the wrong country. There are no atheists here? Have you heard of anyone, become an atheist? Not within the community? Big ni'mah from Allah. Elsewhere, I've come across plenty of.
Plenty,
Yeah, plenty of shabab. Because now there's a guilt trip. He knows there's Yawm al-Qiyamah, there's this. How do I get out of it? There's no religion, and there's no accountability, and there's no recompense, and there's no ilah in the first place. And I've sat down with these people, and it's one of the strangest conversations you could ever have with a fellow human being. Where you feel that you're a human being and he's a rock. In fact, a rock, you feel like you can have a conversation with it. Because at least it's silent. You speak to the rock, it just looks at you. Maybe it's an acceptance. You speak to this person and you get ludicrous answers about how everything that we see today is not from Allah. Is not from Allah. Science is the explanation. What exactly in science? They don't know either. They don't have anything that is solid. All they know that it's not Allah. What is the actual answer? They themselves are trying to figure it out. Denying the fitrah that Allah Azza wa Jalla placed within them. The natural disposition that everyone has of La ilaha illallah. So the shaitan has, unlike us, he's pretty organized. And he has a roadmap, strategy, analysis, study. He finds out each one of us, where's his weakness, where's his strength, from where to approach him, when to approach him. And so you need to also have your defense. Your defensive game should be on, so that you don't allow the shaitan to fool you. That's why no matter how bad one of us gets, inshallah you commit all the sins under the sun. Never despair from the mercy of Allah. Never ever allow the shaitan to make you reach a point where you feel that you're doomed. There is no such thing as you're doomed, as long as you're breathing. If you die, then you can feel that you're doomed after you had died. No problem. Surely none of us wants to wait till that point. As we're alive, there's always hope. And that means if you're doing okay, what I'm saying right now may not be relevant to you, but it may be relevant to someone that you know, someone that is related to you, someone that is dear to you, someone that is in this predicament, someone that you cannot reach out to. Because we were wanting to get some food just yesterday, and while we were getting the food, some brother who seems to be either drunk or high or a combination of both started just wilding out and screaming at us, in front of the restaurant. Assalamu alaikum. I don't know what he was saying. Alhamdulillah, I don't understand the UK accent. I hope he wasn't cursing me out. But, so these are people within the community. It's not like he lives on Jupiter and he comes to Earth to eat dinner and go back. He's someone's relative, someone's brother, someone's uncle, or someone's nephew, for that matter. I'm sure you know someone who's not really not really taking Islam seriously. They're Muslim just on their ID, if they have an ID, or they do the bare minimum, they fast in Ramadan, and after Ramadan ends, they go back to their old lifestyle. There's always room, there's always someone within us, within our circle, that is in need of these reminders and these facts. The hadith of the burning coal, excuse me, ties to the hadith of غربة الإسلام, where the Prophet ﷺ said, بدأ الإسلام غريبا, Islam began as something strange, وسيعود غريبا كما بدأ, and it shall go back to the state of being strange just like it started out to be strange. Now if you read the ta'liqat of the ulama on this, you will be here for a few weeks in terms of how to understand this ghurba, what is intended by that. But just to summarize it in a way that we can all relate, when Islam began, there were very few Muslims. Idolatry was widespread. Christianity was there, the Christians were there, the Jews were there, and there wasn't really anyone excuse me, worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. So when the Prophet ﷺ brought the da'wah of Tawheed, and I would like to focus on the fact that he brought the da'wah of Tawheed, he didn't come to establish a state, he didn't come to speak about the prohibition of alcohol, he didn't come to discuss those issues. In the beginning, the Meccan period, 13 years, he was calling the people to La ilaha illallah. And the Quran which was revealed during this time, which is known as the Meccan phase, or the Surah al-Makkiyah, is all about Yawm al-Qiyamah, the rights of Allah. There were no real rulings. The rulings came in the Madani phase after the Prophet ﷺ migrated to Medina. Another lesson we learned, that the Prophet ﷺ was forced based on the condition to actually move from his beloved city where he was born, and he was sad, and he said some words of love and compassion and sentiment to Mecca before he left. How much he loved Mecca, and had your people not driven me out, I would not go out. This is another lesson for the people that live in La La Land, where they think that the Muslims, if somehow we came together right now, regardless of our condition, will be able to change the world. We could remove this country and we could get rid of this group of people, and we could, people that don't understand that the world doesn't work like video games. Maybe they play too many video games. In real life, it doesn't work this way. Allah's messenger was Allah's messenger. If Allah willed, from day one, everybody would have been eradicated. All of Quraysh and all of the Jews and all of the Christians, and Islam would have been given victory, and the Sahaba would have never had to go through torture, not Bilal, not Al Yasir, nobody. Everybody would know, they would have never gone to Abyssinia, only to have to come back to Mecca before they migrate another time to Medina, and they wouldn't have had any type of sulh, any type of agreement. These are things which the scholars, and I'm just conveying what the scholars, these are the things that the scholars understand. But the young people that are on Twitter and YouTube and Facebook, and I don't know, nobody uses Facebook anymore, I'm sorry, it's a bad example. Instagram or whatever, Snapchat, they don't understand. The people are emotionally driven to the point where they think that these things are not real. Some of them reach a point where they even criticize the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba for supposedly not doing what they should have done. Because in their mind, things should be much easier than what they are. That's naive. That's unfair. We cannot be oblivious to the reality of our condition today. Please, let's be realistic. Please. The Muslims today are not like the Muslims at the time of the Sahaba. We are not. We wish we were. And we beg Allah that we go back to the stage. Because Allah promised us everything, but we are not. So when we want to deal with current affairs, we deal with current affairs with wisdom, by looking at the seerah, and by letting the scholars guide us. Now, good news for me and you. The scholars fail, Allah will hold them accountable, you're off the hook. The scholars fail. Let's say all these scholars that we have, according to some, they're all sellouts. They're all scholars for dollars. They're all cheaters. They all don't care about the religion. That's the claim that they say. Nobody has the guts to speak the truth, supposedly. So they don't do the job. Tamam? You're not responsible. Allah will hold them accountable for not being reliable and for not fulfilling the trust Allah placed on them, because Allah placed on the people of knowledge that they should convey this knowledge to the people. If they fail, you're still off the hook. Scenario number one. Scenario number two, you run your mouth and you stretch out your tongue from here to Bradford. And you say and you say and you say, and Allah knows that they did their job, and Allah knows that you're a slanderer. You will come on Yawm al-Qiyamah with a calamity that you will not be able to escape. You're gambling whichever way you look at it. Whichever way you look at it, you're gambling. Either you're saying things that you don't have anything for a fact. You're basing your information on social media, tabloid, whatever information that comes filtered to you. You don't know what's behind the scenes. You don't know politics. You don't know anything. You're just an excited young fellow. You see some Palestinians getting butchered. Naturally, you're going to feel horrible like we all do. And now you think that that gives you the authority to say whatever you want about whoever you want. Because how is it that these Palestinians continue to be butchered and no one is doing a thing? This is the emotional psyche of the people. So you wind up saying things which you will have to answer to Allah on Yawm al-Qiyamah. And what if, I'm going to play your game. What if you were wrong? Do you know what happens when you transgress against another Muslim's ird and his right? Does anyone know? You guys give me the answer. If you transgress against another Muslim, what will happen on Yawm al-Qiyamah between you and him?
No forgiveness between each other.
No forgiveness until they make up?
Yeah.
That's a very optimistic view. There is a chance that he could forgive you, but usually on that day, people are going to be a little bit greedy. The prophets of Allah, Adam, Nuh, Ibrahim, the people will come to them after suffering 50,000 years of waiting, and they will say, beg Allah, just to begin the hisab, The Prophet will say, Nafsi, Nafsi, myself, myself. The Prophet will spend his whole life, Nuh, spent 950 years. 950 years giving da'wah to his people. How much does he care? One of us gives da'wah to 9 minutes and 50 seconds after this, يا أخي روح يا. خلاص, you don't want to believe and you don't want to accept, don't you ever believe. أطلع الباب يطلع جمل. 950 years giving him da'wah before he made dua against them, only when Allah told him that they will never believe, when he knew that it was a hopeless case. قال ربي لا تذر على الأرض من الكافرين ديار. Don't leave anyone. Allah drowned the whole earth for Nuh alayhi salam. He will say, myself, myself. The person will run away from his wife, from his children, from his brother, from his sister. Who does this? وَتَرَى النَّاسَ سُكَارَى وَمَا هُمْ بِسُكَارَى. You will see the people as if they're drunk. They're not drunk. وَلَكِنَّ عَذَابَ اللَّهِ شَدِيد. But the punishment of Allah will be severe. Yawm al-Qiyamah is a big deal. What will happen on that day? The person that you transgressed against will be brought. Ta'al, come. Your good deeds will be taken from you and given to him. You have to be a majnoon, official, insane person stamped for you to be giving away your good deeds on Yawm al-Qiyamah like you were giving charity. After all the hard work, you come in Yawm al-Qiyamah, طيب يلا, who's next? تفضل يا شيخ. وانت تفضل. You give everybody, and then guess what happens? You run out of good deeds. You run out of good deeds. You left nothing for yourself. Everything was given for the people that you wronged, the people that you slandered, thinking it's all good. This is amazing. Their bad deeds that they committed, the sin that they committed between them and Allah, will be taken from them and placed on your back. And then that person will be thrown into Jahannam. This is the hadith of the Muflis. Everybody should know the hadith. The Muflis is Bukhari, if my memory serves me well. Prophet said, do you know who the bankrupt one is? Or be honest, Al-Muflis minna, the one who doesn't have la dirham or dinar, doesn't have money. He said, no. The Muflis, the bankrupt one of my ummah, as a person that will come on Yawm al-Qiyamah with salah and siyam and sadaqah, he would have done a lot of good deeds. But he would have said this about that person and stolen the money of that person and wronged that person, and then they will have this transaction. His good deeds will be given to them. He runs out of good deeds. Now to balance it out, because there has to be adli on Yawm al-Qiyamah, there has to be justice. Not even mithqal dharra will be left out. Their bad deeds will be taken from them, thrown on that person. So I say to anybody who wants to engage in the social media drama, the least you can do for yourself is relax. Don't say a word. Wallahi, sincere advice. You will come on Yawm al-Qiyamah peaceful. You haven't said anything that will affect other people that you presumed are traitors and agents and all the things that they have invented in this modern time. If the scholars don't do their job, they have a Lord who will hold them accountable, and you will come having not done anything transgressive of this nature. So Islam began strange, and it will go back. It was a very few people, and they had to suffer in the beginning until Islam spread and conquered the whole world. And as the hadith says, no house will exist except that Islam will enter it, regardless of how people feel about it. But it will go back to being strange. And today, we are experiencing an element of this strangeness. You cannot practice your Islam fully without being harassed, without being persecuted, without being bullied, without being warned against, without being, and other than that, depending on your situation. So the scholars say in this hadith there are two things. First, we're being told what's going to happen, and second, we're being given irshad. We're being given guidance by the Prophet ﷺ as to how to deal with those difficult times. And that even though it will be like holding on to burning coal, you will remain upon the religion. And that's why the hadith says, فَطُوبَ لِلْغُرَبَاءِ. In some of the narrations, قِيلَ مَنْ هُمْ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. Who are they, O Messenger of Allah? Give glad tidings to the stranger. Islam began as something strange, and it will go back to being strange. فَطُوبَى لِلْغُرَبَى. What is Tuba? Tuba is, according to some, it's a tree in Jannah. And according to others, Tuba is any kind of glad tidings. So give glad tidings to the strangers. Who are the strangers? Many different narrations. One of them says, those who rectify when the people go astray. When the people divide into sects, and this masjid belongs to this, and this masjid belongs to that, this background, this ideology, this aqidah, this madhab, this maslak, this I don't know what, and it becomes this kind of division. When confusion takes over, then you have to look around and say, everybody claims to be the bearer of the truth. Mind you, nobody's going to say, by the way, we're a misguided sect, so please, just keep moving. No, everybody's going to open to say, حياك الله, تفضل, قهوة, شاي, اشتبي. What do you want? Yalla. They want the community. At these times, if someone says, Akhi, I don't know where the truth is, we say, you're kidding, right? You're kidding. You're going to tell me that the Prophet ﷺ did not teach us, left us guide us as to where the truth is going to be, as to what is expected of us. We don't know the way that way of salvation, the way of safety, the way of success, the way of being among the saved and aided sect. No way. If you know how to use the bathroom, if you've been given instructions how to use the bathroom, entering, exiting, washing yourself, how to eat, what to say before you eat, what to say after you eat, what to say when it rains, and what to say when you hear the thunder, and what to say when you travel, when you ride an animal, or when you ride a car. And I can go on for hours, and you can go on for hours, mentioning examples of the minute, specific details of the guidance of the Prophet ﷺ. He gave us all this and left the idea of where you're going to be guided ambiguous. We don't know where to find it. No way on planet Earth. It is highlighted in too many ahadith and too many ayat from the book of Allah. To summarize it, we would say, Habibi, you see what the Sahaba were doing? That's your Islam. Your Islam and my Islam is according to the understanding and the application of the Sahaba. Only the Sahaba? No. At-Tabi'een, those who follow the Sahaba and righteousness. Only At-Tabi'een? No. There's a third category of people, Atba'u Tabi'een, the followers of the Tabi'een. Only those three generations? No. Anybody who follows them until Yawm al-Qiyamah. Bingo. There is no ambiguity, no confusion, no philosophy, no science, no give and take, and there's nothing that is confusing. It's black and white. تركتكم على المحجة البيضاء. The Prophet ﷺ said, I left you upon a white plain. ليلها كنهارها. The night is like the day. It doesn't make a difference whether night or day, you'll be able to see. لا يزيغ عنها إلا هالك. None will deviate from that except one who destroyed himself. A person willingly abandons the way of the Sahaba and finds a new way according to some sheikh or some uncle or some maulana from I don't know which planet, and then they come up with a new designed religion. They bring Islam and they put, like a puzzle or like Lego. They put things together and say, this is the updated version, 2023. We got it going on. Why? Why do I have to listen to anyone other than the Prophet ﷺ? What did the Sahaba believe about Allah? That's what I believe. How did they worship Allah? That's how I worship Him. How did they conduct themselves? That's how I conduct myself. Islam is clear. So in this fitna of division of the ummah and sectarianism, we have to be the ones who glue things together in a sense that we need to reach out to everybody who may be confused and try to bring him to the truth. We don't want to further place the barriers. It's a challenge, I understand, and we fail. More often than not, we fail. But the ultimate objective is to try to bring people to the proper understanding, because when the Muslims unite upon this proper understanding, then everything that we've been promised will come to pass. As long as we are in this state, then it would be very difficult to hold on to the religion as a community. The more we are divided, the more access that they will have. The more we are united, the more strength that we will have. Do we unite upon falsehood? It's useless. Uniting upon falsehood is like, two wrestlers. You want two wrestlers want to wrestle against each other, and then you want to bring another person to be on your side to help you win, but you bring someone who's handicapped, who himself is not fit to be wrestling in the first place. Uniting with someone that is going to actually take you back, because you as a Muslim need to look after this brother, right? You need to help him, bring him on a wheelchair, put him down, take care of him, give him water in the middle of a wrestling match. You need some beast who can enter the ring and take out your enemy in the ring, in a fight. Just so no one misunderstands. Are there cameras here? All good? Yeah, don't misunderstand. Because whenever you say something as a Muslim wearing what I'm wearing, this could easily be misconstrued. صح? Tamam. So you need someone that will help you reach your objective, not someone that's going to become a burden. So uniting with falsehood is actually counterproductive, and it will affect us negatively, and we will never be able to reach the objective that we united for. We united for a reason, and if you follow a way other than the way of the Prophet ﷺ, then you will not be able to bring about change. To bring about change, there is a designated, divine, revealed method. It's the same reason why we as Muslims do not engage in, and what is the third term that they use? March. You march from one place to another, and then you just scream, out the top of your lungs, free, X country, or free Y country. Who are you speaking to? Who are you calling to? You think the presidents of the countries that are engaged in the atrocities against the Muslims are just sitting there waiting for you to see, okay, let me see, if it's a big number of people, we're going to change our policy. Oh, it's a small number of people, then we're going to keep going. These people are not interested. Did the Sahaba ever go out? Did the Sahaba get persecuted? You bet. Did they ever go march in front of the Kaaba and say to Abu Jahl and the rest of the clan, stop hurting the Muslims, leave us alone, let us be, ila akhiri? Was that doable? It was doable. Was that option available? It was available. Did Allah legislate this as a way for the Prophet ﷺ? No. Let's say a scholar made ijtihad, said, Ya akhi, take it easy. Not everything has to be by the book. A problematic statement, nevertheless, but let's say hypothetically we say, not everything has to be by the book. Okay, no problem. Are there any munkarat? Are there any evil elements in these events? Or are they free from evil? If you can say they're free from evil, we can have a discussion. Okay, Prophet ﷺ didn't do it, the Sahaba didn't do it. But they're also zero evil. Ta'al ya Shaykh, Allah yarda alayk, show us your ilm and ijtihad, and deduce a fatwa for us, because the Shaykh might reach a conclusion that this actually brings about benefit and the maslaha is greater than mafsada, and so on and so forth. No problem. Islam has an area of flexibility, a margin of flexibility where these opinions can be entertained if the scholar is one of Ahl Sunnah. But no one can deny that there are at least 5 to 6 munkarat in these events that are unavoidable no matter what you do. No matter what you do, these 5, 6 munkarat and evils are part and parcel of these events. So on what basis then are we legislating that? Or are we engaging in these acts? And will this really bring about the results that we're anticipating? Why am I using this as an example? Because I want to show you, so we can connect to something realistic about what it means to follow the way of the Sahaba. Because it's not just words. It takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of discipline to know that your emotions are telling you to do A, B, C, but Islam is telling you to remain quiet. So in spite of your urge to speak, you remain quiet. Because that's what Islam is commanding you, and that's what the Sahaba did. Very few people actually have that trait. Very few people can manage their emotions and the urge to violate certain aspects of Islam because of their emotions and how their emotions shape their ideas and their opinions and their behavior. It takes a lot of courage and bravery to be able to be disciplined and say, I'm going to keep myself in check. Yeah, I'm seeing all these bad things. They're breaking my heart. They're wrenching my heart. But if the Prophet ﷺ said, don't speak about it in this manner, if you want to bring about change, here's how you need to do it, and doing it in another way is counterproductive, I'm going to leave alone that which is not going to bring any good, because Allah's Messenger ﷺ was receiving a revelation from Allah. He told us what would be effective, what will not be effective. During these times, people start conflating everything. People that once felt a certain way start feeling a different way now that their emotions are more in control of them than before. So you need to be careful. We all need to be careful. But the best thing and the best advice for everything is the famous proverb, "As-salamatu la ya'diluha shay." Safety is not equal to anything in terms of virtue, in terms of protection. The best thing you can do is be safe during these times. And Allah told us clearly in the Quran, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the people of knowledge you don't know. It's nice for someone to acknowledge that he doesn't know. It's good that one of us is humble enough to acknowledge that I really don't know. I mean, I think I know, or I know enough information, but that's not the knowledge that is being referred to in the ayah. Even though you may have a very accurate political stance, meaning you've done your research, politically you know this entity is behaving in this manner for this objective, for this goal, no problem. I acknowledge, I respect. But your political view on the subject and your analysis does not entail and does not qualify you to now pass an Islamic fatwa, an Islamic verdict, where the Muslims have to basically take your opinion on it. That still has to be to the people of knowledge. You could go to the person of knowledge and say, Ya Shaykh, Barakallah Feek, I believe there are certain things that you don't know. You're closed. You're in a closed environment. You're disconnected from the world. You don't know what's going on. Here, Faddal Ya Shaykh. And believe me, any Shaykh who you offer him additional information, he will tell you, give me. Show him your point of view respectfully and leave the matter between him and Allah. I'm saying this because some people believe that they know so much politics that they are definitely 100% unequivocally correct about the way they feel on current affairs. And believe me, that is not how Islam works. Allah says in the Quran, لَعَلِمَهُ الَّذِينَ يَسْتَنْبِطُونَهُ مِنْهُمْ. When the matter of aman and khawf comes, when the matter of peace or fear affects the community, they will hasten in sharing the news. And had they referred it back to the Messenger ﷺ and ulil amri minhum and the people in charge among them, then those among them, who, not all of them, those among the people in charge and the rulers and the scholars who have the ability to do istinbat, to deduce from it, they would have guided them. Only a minority of people have that qualification. If you think you're one of them, then I'll give you a military salutation and kiss your head every time I see you. But I believe all of us here are under this level. So, we should know our role and not transgress and not get involved in things that could be harmful to the ummah in the long run. It takes a lot of discipline, but all this ties into the idea of holding on to a burning coal. Because today, the burning coal is Palestine. And you feel that your involvement or your opinion or the way you want things to happen, you're forcing something that is unorganic and unnatural because of how painful the situation is. But to be able to protect yourself from the fire then we need to allow our submission to Allah to be the guide and not our intellectual or emotional state, which can easily deceive us. And to give you a final example, to connect the dots, any one of you can assess on his own that the poorest decisions you've ever made in your life were usually the ones you made when you were emotionally unstable. And as I said the other day, 80% of the people in prison are in prison because of a decision they made when they were emotionally unstable. Either too sad or too angry. And usually it is anger. And what we see today will make you angry. What's happening to the Muslims will make you angry. And when you make decisions and you shape your opinions during anger, then it is very unlikely that you will ever reach the truth. A man came to the Prophet and said, Awsini, give me advice. قال لا تغضب. Don't be angry. The scholars say the Prophet ﷺ, as though he sensed from this man, he sensed from him temper. So he gave him an adequate advice. He could have said to someone else, اتق الله حيثما كنت, fear Allah wherever you may be. But for that particular man, he told him, لا تغضب. So the man who has a temper asked again, قال أوصني. What did he tell him again? لا تغضب. Now, if you know someone with a bad temper, what will happen when you tell him something twice? You're already triggering them. He asked him a third time. أوصني. قال لا تغضب. 3 times. The man would be boiling in rage right now because he's looking for something else. Okay, Prophet ﷺ told him لا تغضب. So he accepted that. He wants something else. And he kept getting the same answer, which actually will make him angry. But that was his test. That is the test. That in spite of you feeling the rage to be angry, don't be angry. This is the test of Iman with Allah's Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. So every time you want to say something based on this state, remember, don't be angry. You can be sad. If you really want to help the Muslims, you really want to help the Muslims all over the world, not just in Palestine, in Afghanistan, and in China. And is there a country in the world where the Muslims are not being beat? Even in the European countries, there's a different way of torture. You can't do this, you can't do that. You know, all types of stuff going on. Somebody has to harass you somehow. You really want to help the Muslims? You make dua. You say, Akhi, that's it? That's all you can say, just make dua? How cheesy. Is there something more? Oh yeah, there's something more. Practice Islam and raise your children upon that. That is the long-term hard mission that we don't like because it's a lot of work. We like shortcuts. Give me the quickie one. Give me a quick solution so we can just solve the issue of Palestine right now. I don't want to see any more children die. Please, you have 3 days to sort this out for me. What would you like me to do? What would you like anyone to do? Again, you think it's a video game, you're going to move armies, this army, that army, move them together and go do this. And then what happens? World War III, nuclear war, we all get nuked, and then there's nothing but cockroaches, because I heard cockroaches will not be nuked. Or am I wrong? What does a person want? What disconnect and divorce from reality? When Allah already told us, and the Prophet hadith, that Allah will put this humiliation, صَلَّطَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكُمْ ذُلًّا لَا يَنْزِعُهُ حَتَّى تَرْجِعُوا إِلَى دِينِكُمْ. When you reach this point of being like the foam on the sea, huge in number but no substance, we abandon the deen, we abandon the cause of Allah, we chase the dunya, we abandon fighting the cause of Allah in a legitimate way, not the way the people do it now, where they go terrorize the whole world and they tell you Allahu Akbar, this is Islam. When we do all of these crimes, Allah Himself, the hadith says, and the hadith is sahih, Allah will place humiliation upon you and He will not remove it until you return to your religion. You say to someone right now, they get angry. What? What do you mean? I have to deal with all this? Yes, until you return to religion. How else can I save it? How else can we solve the problem? You're not going to be able to solve the problem. Nothing on this earth is going to give us victory but Allah. In al-nasru illa min indillah. Victory is from no one but Allah. In tansurullah yansurkum wa yuthabbit aqdamakum. If you aid the deen of Allah, Allah will aid you. We, the Muslims, want to bypass and skip and get to the last one. And we want immediate results. And when the world does not comply, we, freak out and panic and make a fuss. You really want a solution? How much of Islam is in your life? Is Islam only in the masjid, or is it outside the masjid as well? And what about our children? Where are our children? Are we raising them upon the proper Islam? Do we have a community that is trying to build a generation that takes Islam seriously? People that will carry this masjid, that will carry the flag after you pass away? Or are we leaving it for another community to come and take over? You know who's coming. The alphabets. These are serious challenges. So we have a lot of work to do. And when we do this work, the situation will change. Slowly but surely. And you don't have to see the victory yourself. That your grandchildren tasted. But you will be getting the reward in your grave for having planted the seed. Instead of whining and crying all day to the world to come and save us from our predicament. Please, please, free Palestine, please. Carrying signs and putting, rings and the band-aids or madri. And like this is going to solve the problem. This is unrealistic. It shows that you care. Jazakallahu khairan. May Allah compensate you with good for your feelings. But be efficient, be productive, and do something that actually will change on the ground. I know this is a difficult pill to swallow for everybody. But Allah will make it easy for whoever is seeking the pleasure of Allah. So Jazakallahu khairan. If you guys have any questions or objections for this matter, then please feel free to say anything. Tafadhal.
What's the guidelines of criticizing rulers and holding a political stance? For example, maybe just say the situation in Pakistan. So how are the Muslims supposed to behave, towards the people in charge of, for example, the situation with Imran Khan, how are we supposed to handle the situation?
I don't know anything about Imran Khan in particular. I have very vague, primitive ideas, but that's irrelevant because whether or any country in the world, the protocol of the Muslims with the ruler remains to be the same. If you have a piece of advice for the ruler, the Prophet ﷺ said, take him on the side, and then tell him, if he accepts, then alhamdulillah, if not, then you have delivered what is upon you. And there are over 100 narrations describing the people in charge as being people with the bodies of humans, hearts of shayateen, لا يستنوا بسنتي ولا يهتدوا بهدي. These are very explicit descriptions from the Prophet ﷺ. They will not follow my sunnah, they will not follow my guidance. And he's given you a description of pure wickedness. And then he told you, asmi' wa ati'. Listen and obey in anything that is obedience to Allah. If he tells you disobey Allah, inshallah, whoever it is, say not happening. As some people try to play games with the deen of Allah. What if he told you to do this, and when they come with these hypotheses, what if he told me to disobey Allah? Keep moving. لا طاعة لمخلوق في معصية الخالق. There's no obedience for any creation if it entails disobeying Allah. But if he's telling me to obey him in things that are not haram, even if he is an oppressor, transgressor, and the list goes on, the Prophet ﷺ told you to listen and obey. It takes a lot of humbleness and submission for a person to overcome that ego that tells you why. Why do I have to listen to this corrupt, person, this evil, wicked leader, and the list goes on. And I'm speaking in general terms. But this is the guidance of the Prophet ﷺ. So our stance is, if you're able to, go ahead and advise him. Usually there are people that are advising him. If they fail, as we said earlier, it's between them and Allah. My position and yours is to our tongues, to protect it from any transgression. Because when you speak about him, it's also backbiting. Whoever that person is, he's still a Muslim. If somebody took him outside of Islam, that's a whole other discussion. I'm assuming he's a Muslim. If you speak about him in his absence, it's still backbiting. Is there anywhere that says that there's an exception to backbiting if he's the ruler? So you're still falling into an area of doubt that you are better off without. Whenever there's a situation like this, buy your peace of mind. And let's say, Ya akhi, you said everything you said about him is on point and correct and wonderful and beautiful. What is it going to change? What is the impact of what you said? This is what a lot of people fail and realize. And they say, I'm doing my part of al-amr bil ma'ruf wal nahy anil munkar. I am enjoying what is good and forbidding what is evil. Where is the evil that you forbade? How did you forbid the evil? Did you really stop it? Was he like sitting there drinking tea, and then as soon as he heard you say some things about him, he said, okay, Jazakallahu khairan, I'm gonna stop now? That's not what's happening. People are saying all kinds of things about the rulers, and the rulers are doing whatever they want in spite of everything that the people are saying. So it's fruitless really. It's fruitless. It's just you engaging in mundane, useless attempt to make a change. You really want to bring about a change? Know that the ruler is a reflection of the people. The ruler is a reflection of the people. And that having an evil ruler rule you for one day is better than, for 6,000 years, is better than living one day without a ruler. Go to all these countries where they overthrew the ruler. Until now, they have not recovered. Until now, no economy, no infrastructure, no one knows what's happening to them. Wallah al-musta'an. And people ignited this fitna and called it the spring, or the winter, or the summer, or the fall, and all we see is fall. All we see is destruction and division and weakness of the Muslims, and everybody else is just sitting there enjoying, just take it, go to this country, take the national resources, go to this country. We're just getting eaten alive. Because some genius thought that if they got rid of, Fulan, they're going to bring Umar ibn Khattab instead of him. Where's Umar ibn Khattab? Are you going to bring someone who's going to be somewhat like him? And guess what? If this is your mode of doing things, when you bring someone that they don't like, another group of people don't like him, they're going to remove him the same way you removed the one before. Like, back then, you begin to remain in the cycle for how long? These are all facts that no one can deny from everyday experience. Therefore, whether this guy Khan or other than Khan, let them be. Let them be. We do what is within our capacity. If one of us is a political influencer, he's a person of authority, Allah has given him a certain responsibility within the government, then this person carries on his shoulder a big burden to do all these changes in a wise, politically correct way in line with the Quran and the Sunnah. But for the average layman, I'm not part of any government, I have nothing to do with these people, let them do what they need to do. My job is, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. Protect yourselves and your family from the fire. As for them, Yawm al-Qiyamah, everybody's record will be settled. Clear?
Yeah.
I didn't know I was that boring as shit.
How do you recognize a scholar and for example, I want to say scholars from Pakistan and I want to follow him. And some people now you have to recognize the ulama in Saudi. So how do we say, yeah, this scholar's right and we should follow? How does a layman
Understood. This is the same answer I gave earlier. That Islam left nothing ambiguous in regards to these matters. This idea that scholars are only in Saudi is insane. Because Allah Azza wa Jalla has allowed the Muslim scholars to spread all over the world. So while certain countries produce certain people of knowledge based on a curriculum or based on academia that is in line with the way of the Sahaba and the early generations, does not mean that it is exclusively the only place. Sheikh Zafar, which was here, I believe, earlier, is from India, no? Pakistan? I always get these two wrong. I've got myself in a lot of trouble in the past. Because a brother will be Pakistani, I tell him you're Indian, he gets mad. I'm an Arab, to me they're all the same. What do you mean they're all the same? We're not the same, Mashi. If you thought I was Syrian, I'm Lebanese, well, I'm not going to be mad. I'm not going to be mad. Who cares? Lebanese, Syrian, Jordanian, we're all the same people. Aslan, they came and played games with us, and they colonized us. They said, you are this, and you are that, and you are that. And now everybody feels proud of his nationality. Pakistan's in the bad. Ajlis ya Sheikh. It's all the same. It's Pakistan or India or Bangladesh or we're all brothers from the subcontinent. We put them on our head. Either he practices the deen, we love him for the sake of Allah, or he doesn't practice the deen, he can exit from the door. And the same for any nationality, Arab, non-Arab, all this is from the shayateen of ins and jinn to make division between us. Because I see this everywhere you go. People get offended about their nationalism and their nation. Maybe who cares? Adam is your father and my father. The fact that you live in a country where you got more sun than the rest of the world doesn't mean jack really. At the end of the day, we all look the same and we all look different. It doesn't matter. How did we get to racism and nationalism and prejudice? I don't even know how. I was saying, so I forgot what I was saying.
All scholars,
Aywa. So the scholars are from all over the place. The criteria, the yardstick of measurement is this person communicating to you Islam according to the way of the Sahaba and the Tabi'in or not? Whether or not he calls himself Salafi or not Salafi or Athari, he doesn't have to be called Shaykh Zafar al-Athari, al-Salafi, al-Madri Ish. And these are all names some people use for practicality purposes. I personally am not a big fan of names because the name could backfire. I can call myself Salafi and I'd be the worst Muslim in the world, then thank you for what I did to the Salafiyya with my bad conduct. So I'd rather carry my own name with my own shortcomings and leave Salafiyya off the thing. But Salafiyya as a manhaj, as a methodology, as a way of life, is the way. Any sheikh on earth, Saudi, Yemen, Qatar, Kuwait, if he calls to the way of the Salaf, then these are our mashayikh. They change, their languages change, their appearance change, they change throughout times. We connect with them, and those are connected to scholars before them, or are connected to scholars before them, all the way to the Sahaba. Very simple. Plus, alhamdulillah, the people of deviance have made it very easy for us. Like he will tell you, I am a Sufi, Ash'ari, Naqshbandi. Thank you so much. Khalas, we got nothing to do with each other. And he already broke it down for you. He called himself Deobandi, he called himself Barelvi, he already made the job easy. Now you have to look for someone who doesn't have all these names. Just another Muslim like you. You're a Muslim, you love the Sahaba, Bismillah, let's go. Tamam? Strange person, huh? I understand.
You mentioned protests and
Yes.
I don't really have an effect. I agree. However, there's another trend going of boycotting.
Hey.
Starbucks, maybe what you drinking there, possibly, I don't know.
No, I'm drinking this chai place, Chichi Chacha. What was the place called, Yahi? That's the one.
Coca-Cola and all these.
Yeah, I hear you.
Apparently, that is causing an effect.
Surely.
Apparently an economic effect upon Zionism or whatever you want to call it. I don't know how much of an effect, but apparently it is causing some sort of effect. So can we continue that line?
Absolutely. See, there's a lot of misconception about the subject of boycotting, because all some of the scholars did was say, just slow your roll and understand the ramifications of your choice before you make a choice. And when you make a choice, don't impose it on others. That's really the only point of contention. I personally have boycotted all of these people because whether or not it affects them even in the slightest way, at least I feel like I've done my part. However, if I see a brother walking around with a Starbucks, I'm not going to make this right now the ultimate do or die, and him being a Zionist versus being pro-Palestinian, or him being upon the deen versus being a kafir, or my entire judgment of this person is based on this, because there are other aspects of this that the people are not aware of. Example, McDonald's Israel donated Big Macs and big French fries and whatever to the IDF. But McDonald's Saudi Arabia donated 2 million riyals to the Palestinians. So now when you stand, you hold back. Okay, it's a franchise. 4% of the profit is going to go to the mother company. 96% is locally owned. The entire staff of McDonald's are Muslims. I would say 98% Muslims. There are a few Filipinos that are Christians. Those people, now that's why the scholars say slow down, because when you decide you don't want to eat a Big Mac anymore, Jazakallah khair. When you start now enforcing boycott on other people, you are actually damaging a local business and leaving people with no jobs, and because of this 4%, which you're entitled to on your own, but don't make it so that it's black and white. There's nothing more fair than that. You want to boycott, Jazakallah khair, Barakallah feek, but mind you, that you're not in an authority to go and tell the people, I'm telling you, you cannot, drink Starbucks anymore. That's a choice that you make. If the scholars or the leaders decide with you that this brand is to be boycotted, khairu barakah. They decide that no, this brand, they don't want to boycott it. They see that there's maslahah in it remaining in the country, and you're not a politician and you're not an economic expert, then boycott it on your own and let the people be. You can advise people privately, akhi, for the sake of Allah. I know that this, the issue is controversial. You could do without a Starbucks. Let's go to, this other brand, Chichi Pachichi, whatever this place is called. Khalas, call it a day. But the reason why there was this reaction, because the people now left everything that I've been saying this whole lecture, all this is down the drain. And now it's all boycotting and protest. And you putting a flag of Free Palestine on your profile picture, this is the judgment of a real Muslim versus a Zionist Muslim. It's insane. That's not how it works, but that's how emotional beings behave. Allah musta'an. I butchered the name of this place, man. Don't tell me. I'm bad with names. I can't remember this stuff, so I invent one as I go along. Allah musta'an.
Sheikh.
Fadal, love you, Sheikh. I am a young brother. Fadal, study.
So these, like say, countries, so-called, they call them Muslims, but they're allowing to celebrate New Year's Day, do fireworks, and those people who are burning those countries are the Muslims.
Right. Do you know of the Sahabi who used to be brought frequently to the Prophet ﷺ for drinking alcohol?
Yeah.
Does anyone know his name?
I don't know.
You know the hadith?
Yes, I've read it.
A companion of Allah's Messenger who heard with his own ear when the ayat was revealed, فَهَلْ أَنْتُمْ مُنْتَهُونَ, after Allah mentioned that al-khamr wal-maysir is rizqun min amal al-shaytan. He knew that. And yet, he was drinking alcohol so frequently and being punished for it so frequently that some of the Sahaba actually wanted to verbally abuse him. بعدين, that's too much. You are a companion, you follow the message of Allah. Where do you draw the line of not drinking alcohol? When they verbally abused him, Prophet ﷺ did not even allow them. Said, don't aid the shaitan against your brother. All I know from him is that he loves Allah and His Messenger. So, committing acts, and this is the Khawarij, this is the exact trait of the Khawarij, committing acts of sinfulness, be it allowing alcohol to be sold, eating pork, anything that you can think of, does not take you outside the fold of Islam unless you're a Khariji from the time of the Khawarij who believe that the major sins are tantamount to disbelief. Unless the person does istihlal. Meaning they tell you, no, it's halal in the deen of Allah to do ABC. And none of these people will say that. They do this for whatever reasons they do it. They want to gain economic strength. They want to strengthen the tourism. It's between them and Allah. I cannot speak on anyone's behalf. But what we know is that those actions in and of themselves do not take someone outside the folds of Islam. And when the Sahaba said to the Prophet ﷺ about, he told them about the rulers, he said, should we not go fight them? قال لا, no. إلا أن تروا كفرا بواحا, until you see unambiguous, clear-cut kufr. And not only that, you have from Allah burhan, you have a proof from Allah that this ruler committed an act of kufr that is inexcusable. In another hadith, they asked him, should you not fight against them? He said, لا ما صلوا فيكم, no, as long as they establish the salah. So some of the scholars say, if the imam is establishing the salah, there's masajid and there's prayer and there's whatever, and he's praying, even if in spite of all of these, you don't pass takfir. Let's say, hypothetically, some of the scholars said that this ruler is a kafir. Okay? what he did, as you mentioned, some of the, not these examples, something greater than that, is act of kufr. Now comes phase 2. Are you really able to do something about it, or are you going to do another Syria stunt? Syria, we have a classic example. I don't know of any scholar that considers the ruler of Syria to be a Muslim. In spite of that, they did what they did, and what happened right now? Nothing. They don't have the strength or the ability to get rid of him. So even then, when the ruler is declared to be a disbeliever by qualified people of knowledge, then you have to consider whether you actually are doing something that is good for the Muslims in the long run. The sad thing is that the people now believe all these casualties are halal. Yet some of these scholars of fitna who was, encouraging the people to go fight in Syria said, what are we going to lose? 1 million? 1 million? No problem. We'll put 1 million as a payment for freedom. 1 million Muslims, ya Sheikh. 1 million Muslims dying. Adi? This is to you like drinking coffee and tea? 1 million Muslims, the blood of a Muslim is in the sight of Allah more important than the Kaaba. And you're killing them wholesale. Because you want to reach the chair and you want to get rid of a single ruler, and all these people's lives are destroyed for Allah knows how many years. The Syrian people are struggling anywhere they go in the world. I've been to Turkey a few times. They can't even at this point certain basic rights they don't have. It's a very tough condition for them. Who's going to cater for these people? So this recklessness of everybody wants to revolt and everybody wants to get rid of governments and they want to install new ones with this video game mentality is not how Islam works. And therefore, even if someone might have a valid justification to say this ruler, what he did is kufr, clear-cut, unambiguous kufr, still there's a lot of boxes that need to be ticked before you even move a finger. And who will make this decision? The scholars who are able to assess the situation. So even then, we need to just sit down and watch. Don't be the fitna instigator. Allahu Akbar.
Okay.
Hayakallah said. Any other issues, problems, objections?
Should a Muslim vote in the democratic elections?
I know there are two opinions. The general opinion is that your involvement in any voting of any nature is you basically endorsing al-hukm بغير ما أنزل الله, and you're some قانون وضعي, some man-made law that the people have come up with, and you're basically saying, Yallah, it's all good, I'm going to be part of it. That's the fundamental rule. Exception is made when the scholars assess that in this particular country, or in this district, or in this city, that if you were to vote and you're able to select a person that would be more useful for the Muslims or less harmful for the Muslims, then there are exceptions to the rule, provided that the person who's getting involved is aware of why he's voting. Meaning, I'm only voting because if I vote, then this fulan will be in charge, and this guy is known for being friendly to the Muslim community. He will help us establish masajid. He will help us in the long run, versus this other guy who's an enemy of Islam. The scholars will tell you then, no problem. For the people of knowledge in the locality will tell you, no problem, you can go ahead and vote. But you as a voter, don't get excited that you're voting because you like democracy. No, you're voting because you have a noble objective of trying to service the Muslim community. So this is a very clear exception. But the fundamental rule is the Shara of Allah is the only one that is authoritative, and everything else is man-made law. In Lebanon, if you jump from the 5th floor and you land on my car and you die, I'm responsible for your death because you landed on my car. How do you like that law? And if you hate your neighbor and you want to mess up his life, just jump on his car and make sure that you die, and that he has to deal with the consequences of you dying. This is man-made law. You marry a woman, you don't get along, someone like Ronaldo. He's been playing all his life, making billions of dollars and whatever. He divorces her, she takes half of his money. She never kicked the ball. No, we don't have that in Islam. You understand? These man-made laws are funny. and really they're harmful to us, in the long run. Allahu A'lam.
Yeah. Which football team do you support?
I'll be frank. I support, I play football,
Yeah.
and I support football, but within reason. I don't have any loyalty to any team. I'm the biggest sellout in the world.
What's your preference?
Any team with Muslims in it. And then even this Muslim has to be a Muslim according to my standards. I was a Liverpool fan because of Muhammad Salah and Sadio Mane. As soon as Muhammad Salah put up that Christmas tree, I said, Yalla, khalli wadi. No more Liverpool. And then Sadio Mane left the team, I said, it's over for Liverpool. And once I left them, for the first time they're on top of the table. All these years I've been afraid chasing them, Manchester City will just come out of nowhere. They'll be sleeping and they come and smack them out of the whole league. And now that I've left Liverpool, mashallah, they realize that they play football. They've been playing cricket all these years. And then now in the Saudi league, it's a whole other situation. Mashallah, we have obviously half of the people there are Muslim, and there's a bunch of non-Muslims, but it's definitely worth watching. And they're all playing right outside my house. It feels like I can just look out the balcony and see them. And we hope and pray that Allah guides a lot of these people to Islam, because that's good. At the end of the day, for the Muslim world, that's good. The fact that Ronaldo's playing in Riyadh, who would have ever thought? Seriously.
What about the shorts they wear and sponsors they have, and the overall atmosphere, people worshipping players and teams, like not.
Yeah, I
worshipping
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are the things that you as a Muslim, that's what I'm saying, I have reservations. So I watch football, but if I see some guy running, I'm not going to check out his tie. You understand? If there's a moment where he fell on the ground and they come and, the medics are coming and do them, khalas, I look at my wife. Why do I need to look at this guy? So obviously you have to lower your gaze. The camera suddenly turns onto the crowd and some lady is standing there trying to cheer for a team. You lower your gaze. You don't have any, for example, I wouldn't wear a jersey that has a disbeliever's name on the back. Okay, and if I see Ronaldo, I'm going to tell him, you want to become a Muslim or what? It's not like I'm going to scream, Ronaldo! So Ronaldo is a disbeliever at the end of the day. He plays good football, bravo, but he's a disbeliever. I'm not going to lower myself for a disbeliever, no matter what the situation is. So you have certain, standards that you follow reasonably, and if the situation becomes that the haram is over, is outdoing the thing, you leave it all alone. You leave it together all alone. But I don't feel this way. I watch football moderately, and like I said, I have one team. If they stop playing, even not only that, not just the Muslims, even if the team I like stops playing proper football, I also abandon them. Like somebody, what are some of the lowest teams in the table? Middleton? Yeah. No, I'm saying if you have a team that has been struggling for 10 years, why are you still supporting them?
We support Middlesbrough.
Do they pay you a salary?
Yes.
No, I don't know. If they pay me money, I'm going to support them. If they don't pay me money, I'm going to go with the team that plays better football. At the end of the day, are you there to watch football? I'm there I like to play football, so I learn from these guys. I enjoy good quality play. If my team is horrible, then I'm not going to care about it. It's not going to be my team anymore. You understand what I'm saying? That's why I said I don't have any loyalty to any team. If the team I used to like because they played good no longer plays good, within 3 seconds, I have nothing to do with this team. You say, brother, you were supporting them last week. I said, yeah, that was last week. And now they're not at the level that I appreciate, so khali wali.
So, is it wajib for Muslims to attend the masjid for the obligatory prayer in a non-Muslim country? Because obviously, we don't hear the adhan, and it's not wajib. What's the ruling on this?
You don't hear the adhan, and not only that, you don't hear the adhan with the loudspeakers. Meaning, if there were to be no loudspeakers, and some brother, excuse me, stood on top of I don't know what you have, the roof. Yeah, because there's something out, maybe, I don't know. Anyways, if somebody stood on top of the roof and said, Allahu Akbar, and you at your house, you cannot hear him, you don't have to come. But is that what you want to do though? That's the question. Obviously, it's no longer obligatory, because it's conditional to hearing the adhan, but this is where your bread and butter is. This is where your spiritual growth is. صلاة الجماعة تفضل صلاة الفرد ب27 درجة. The congregational salah exceeds the individual salah by 27 times. So if you went to the supermarket and they told you if you buy one toothpaste, we're going to give you 27. And you went to another supermarket and said you buy one toothpaste, we're going to give you one. Where are you going to go? 27. Unless there's a hardship and you get the 27 full multiplication of your salah. You see your brothers how many people you give salam to and they return the salam to you. Every step that you walk to the masjid, Allah will forgive a sin, raise your degree. None of these will happen at home. None of these will happen at home. So yes, it's not obligatory, but you're basically, you're missing out on a lot of good deeds that I think each and every one of us is in dire need of.
So if somebody's got no excuse and it's time for the salah at home and you're obligatory at the masjid, they're not sinful for not coming to the masjid.
If they can't hear the adhan,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
they're not sinful. They're not sinful.
What if you hear adhan from the masjid, but it's a different masjid? Like,
Barelvi Masjid.
you have to answer the call.
Yes, sir.
No,
As somebody asked Sheikh Dhafar, صح, they asked Sheikh Dhafar yesterday the same question. He said, Alhamdulillah, I remember that even though the Sheikh, mashallah, when he hits the Urdu, he goes on 8 cylinders, maybe 12 cylinders. I don't know if you guys watched the panel with in Bradford, but we were all sitting next to the Sheikh like little children, and he's, mashallah, tabarakallah, the bulldozer. Somebody asked him a question, he gave a 3-hour lecture. And then someone translated the 3-hour lecture. Al-Shahid, he said that if the Imam of this Barelvi Masjid, you have evidence and proof that he is committing shirk and kufr, yani his bid'ah is not just a moderate bid'ah, it's a bid'ah that will take him outside the folds of Islam, then you don't pray. You don't pray behind it. However, if you don't have this yaqeen, you don't have this knowledge, you're doubtful, then you may pray, provided that there's no other alternative. And provided that it's one of those salawat that you have to attend, such as Eid or Jumu'ah. Or as he said. You were there, صح? Did I miss anything? Come on. Naam, Habibi. You guys are not hot? You have the heaters on? No? Inshallah, it's the breath, huh? Fadl ya Sheikh.
I want to study the deen. I want to study the Where do I start from? You know, how I can learn my religion.
Yeah. لا لا, it's عادي عادي. We're gonna go to the same answer we've been given, which makes people laugh. AM and Amau. I call them Amau. Ustad Abdul Rahman's father and Abdul Rahman's father's friend Abdul Rahman.
Yeah.
From my personal experience, those brothers are gems. May Allah bless them with good life and a better ending. They have already laid it out for you in a platform that is modern, sophisticated, advanced, detailed, the whole shebang. All you have to do is commit, and inshallah ta'ala, for no matter your age or your size or your whatever, everybody has a chance to learn the deen, inshallah. So you need to give them all this info,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sheikh, the uncle's asking, he's asking what about the state of Palestine and Israel situation? What do we do about this? And he also mentioned about the celebrations that are taking place and the activities that are taking place in some of the Gulf countries. What do you say about this? He's asking.
We'll tell him to listen to the talk. I answered. I was answering those earlier. No problem. So somebody has to translate to regarding the situation of Palestine and the Zionist state, the terrorist Zionist state, then what we need to do is go back to our deen. That's what's within our ability to do. And regarding the celebrations, we say La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. It's just us speaking about it is not going to eliminate it. And if we speak about it, it will create more problems. So we follow the way of Prophet ﷺ by being patient and making dua for the people in charge that Allah rectifies their conditions and ours so that we can be in a better state. Clear? I hope it's clear. Fine. We need to jet. طيب. جزاكم الله خيرا. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for hearing me out. Thank you for being so generous and welcoming and for being excellent hosts. May Allah reward you all goodness. سبحانك اللهم بحمدك. أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
I just hosted your father on my house.
Yeah.
Do you want to come out with
We have
Just
to.
very quick.